Hi everyone, thank you very much for joining. Sorry for the slight delay at the start. I'm just going to go through who we have here on the panel, answering the questions as they come in and also answering the questions that you guys have already sent in. So to my left directly is Ms. Anna Singh, who is our head of university guidance. We have Ms. Natalie Hatfield, who is our BTEC coordinator. Ms. Destina Newsom, who is our IB DP coordinator, diploma program coordinator, and finally Ms. Claire Young, who is our IB careers related program coordinator. So I've got some questions in front of me that have already been sent in that I will start with. If you do have any questions that you want to have answered in due course, then please just send them into the chat and I will answer them if they are. So first of all, I'll start with Ms. Hatfield to you. Can you just explain to us a little bit about the differences between A-levels and BTECs, and is there any difference in the differences?
Yeah, of course. So with A-levels, they generally have a written exam at the end, whereas with BTEC it's 100% coursework. So the skills are slightly different with what the students will develop on the course. You know, we're not studying for an exam at the end. We complete the coursework as we go along. It's a unit-based structure, and all the information that they learn on the way is put into those assignments. So the difficulty level, I would say they're on par in my eyes. It's just different skills that are needed for the BTEC compared to the traditional A levels.
And that's reflected in university admissions, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, lots and lots of universities are more than happy to take on students with BTEC. Misconception that we get, where a lot of people think that BTECs are not accepted anywhere outside of the UK, which is not true. I myself have had a hospitality student go to Switzerland, I'm very proud of that, and I'm sure Ms. Singh can reel off a list of other universities that our students have gone to. So yeah, it's very much open for our BTEC students to then go on to various universities around the world.
Great. And just move on to a different pathway then. We have a question about the IB diploma program. So the question is, can my child do a language subject that is not offered at Sunblock?
The answer is yes. The IBDP Group 2 subject is language acquisition. So here at St Mark's we offer French and Spanish. If your child would like to do a different language, then that's possible as long as they have an external tutor who has been trained in IB diploma teaching. So they would have their tutor sessions outside of school and then do the exam in school. As it's a language acquisition course, the language has to be a second language for the student, so they couldn't do their home language or a language they've previously been schooled in. But any other language is possible, and we've got students this year doing Russian, Mandarin, Dutch. So yes, any other language can fit for IBDP.
Okay, great. And what would you say is to parents that are asking about whether IGCSEs are a good preparation for the IB diploma program?
Well, yes, of course, because the IGCSEs have an international focus, and IBDP, IB diploma, also has an international focus. The traditional GCSEs are a good pathway too, but yes, the IGCSEs work better.
Yeah, I would just add with that a lot of international schools, students would do the IGCSE up until the end of year 11, and then they would offer IB diploma programs in year 12 and 13. So a lot of the international schools in Dubai actually that are IB diploma program only, 16 to 18 education, they do offer IGCSE. So I've got a question here that says, I'm confused with AS levels and A levels. Do they have to choose AS levels in year 12? So Ms. Singh, is that something you can answer?
Yeah, I can answer that. If you want to think about an AS as sort of a half of an A level, if you will. So you do 1 year of the AS qualification, and then you will do the examination for that. And it's a valid qualification. But if you think about it in terms of half of an A level, that's really at the end of the day what it is, but it does require you to have an examination. And so you do take the exam and then you get that grade in your AS level. And universities also accept AS levels as well as the full A level, obviously.
But they need to be need to do their research on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it would be really important to understand that if you are shooting for sort of the top 100, top 200 universities, you really need to be doing the full A levels because that's the completion of the course. But sometimes there are cases where kids would prefer to take 1 year and just get an AS qualification in one of their subjects. The option is there, but our recommendation is that you complete the full A level and have that full qualification.
So just I think follow-up question from the same person. It says, what is the relation between them? Do you have to choose, say, AS and A level subjects? So at the beginning of the pathway in year 12, right now in year 11, students would make that choice of 3 or 4 A levels or a combination with A level and BTEC. Take an example, if they chose mathematics as one of their options, in the first year they would take 3 different papers on that course of A-level mathematics, and that would count towards the AS level. They would then take a further 3 mathematics papers in year 13, and that would complete the A level. So at the end of year 12, they would have AS level, and then at the end of year 13, they would have the A level. So really there is a big connection between the two, as the A level, the second year of the programme, will build on the content the students have studied in the first year. So another question just about BTEC then, are they only accepted by UK universities?
No, so as I already mentioned, they are accepted around the world in various different universities. Unfortunately, there are a handful of places, such as the Ivy League universities in America, that I don't think they're quite accepted there yet. However, there are plenty of other universities that do accept them. But if anybody has any specific questions about any specific universities that they want to go to see if their BTECs are accepted, you could always check on their website, but also reach out to Ms. Singh, who is also on hand to help with requirements for university courses.
And so, Ms. Singh, when should a student start to think about what country they want to go to university?
Well, I think really in year 10 that process needs to start. The reason for that is that it's really good to understand where your child is going and to understand perhaps what a country and their university system might be looking for. So one of the best examples of that would be if your child goes to the US. The US approach to admissions is extremely holistic, and they would really value being able to look at a student's critical writing skills, which you would pick up obviously in IB if you're doing the extended essay. Having said that, A levels, IBBP, BTEC, IBCP, everything is accepted at universities. But at year 10, it's a really, really good time to begin to think about it. And in year 11, to be able to firm that up, because you need to be aware of all the other things that go into going through the application for different countries. And what, for another really good example, is the SAT. If you're going to the United States, you need to do the SAT. If you're going to the UK, you need to prepare for something like the BMAT or the UCAT. So that's why it's important that kids begin to think about that absolutely no later than year 11.
Okay, next question says, can the student do 4 A levels and then drop 1 subject to 3 A levels during the course of the year? So absolutely, students would normally take 3 or 4 A levels at the beginning of that A level pathway, and then they could make that decision to drop to 3 A levels during the course of the year if they decided that that extra A level wasn't required. And also for the IB diploma program, could students start with 4 high level subjects?
Because, and we have had one student do that this year, but I would really encourage students to make a decision about which 3 high level subjects to continue with as soon as possible, because the workload for IBDP is, as we know, great. So I wouldn't want students to overload themselves with high-level subjects, but to try far out would be a good idea.
Yeah, so it's similar with the IB diploma program and A-levels, where students might want to try things out first, so they might want to try those 4 subjects at A-level first, or they might want to try the 4 higher level subjects on the diploma program as well. How can we know for the university programs that we are shooting for what A-levels are core and which are good to have?
Okay, very long response, so I will try to be very brief. In this particular case, it's best to know what you want to go and study. So for example, medicine, law, engineering, it's very, very clear which courses you need to take. It doesn't matter if you do them at IBDP or A-level, but those are very, very obvious ones. But if you don't really know what you want to do, which a lot of kids don't necessarily know, or you're very open, then you can really just focus on subjects that you enjoy doing. But those 3, engineering, mathematics, and law, you absolutely do need to think very carefully about which subjects to take.
Medicine as well.
Oh, sorry, medicine, sorry. If I didn't mention medicine, medicine is extremely important.
What are the subjects that are key to medicine?
Oh yeah, medicine, so you must do biology and chemistry. Having said that, just know that in some countries the entry into medicine is different, but for medicine, absolutely biology and chemistry. And either you're doing those at A-level or those would be at higher level at IB diploma. Very, very important.
Okay, and one kind of general question to you, Newton, is what are the benefits of doing the IB program or the IB diploma program?
Oh, well, there's many. It's a very challenging program, but universities are aware of that challenge, and that's reflected in their entry requirements. There's also a very holistic education, a holistic curriculum, which means having to make choices about future university courses can be postponed a little bit because the IBDP keeps lots of pathways open. There's a very difficult maths course at IBDP, so for students that want to be really pushed in mathematics, it would be a good pathway. Students that want to carry on with a language, it's not necessarily one of their favourite subjects. IBDP is good because you have to carry on with a language, which gives you that international appeal for future universities and careers. Will I go on? The extended essay is probably the best preparation for university because it's so like a university assignment, and students learn how to reference, which is an excellent skill for university, to research.
So it does tie into just a follow-up from the previous question, which is about what are the core subjects at A-level. There aren't any core subjects at A-level, so the difference between A-levels and the diploma program is with A-levels you're very much able to focus on the particular area of study. So whether you want to go down the sciences route or whether you want to go down the arts or humanities route, there aren't anything core that you have to take. And that's where you really need to think about what course you want to apply for and also what country you want to apply to. It could be different. Some countries, for example, may still have mathematics and English language requirements that students might need to fulfill that they wouldn't if they were not taking those corresponding A-levels. Whereas with the IB diploma program, because they have to do English and because they have to do mathematics too, those requirements are often met. So which countries might that be?
Yes. So for example, in the Netherlands, most of their programs, most of the university courses will require students to have a mathematics for 4 years of secondary. So that's from year 10 to year 13 for us. In addition, the English requirement, if you're doing it at IB, then a lot of times universities will waive the required IELTS score. So if you're taking A-levels and you don't take English as one of them, sometimes you will then be asked to submit an IELTS score, and that is true in the UK, Canada, the US, the Netherlands, and sometimes even some other countries as well.
And one question here, what subjects at A-levels are required for a law degree in the UK?
So it's, in terms of law, it's not a requirement per se, but for example, you should be taking classes where you're reading a lot of text and writing a lot of text and being, learning how to write critically and think critically. So for example, a really good course to take would be history or politics and government, sometimes economics, English. These are not requirements, but universities would definitely want to see that you've taken courses where you are asked to do a lot of analytical writing, because that ultimately is what you'll be doing at university level.
And again, that highlights the difference between A-levels and the IBDP, where all students will pick up those kind of critical thinking skills on the IB diploma program, whereas if they do A-levels, it really depends on what subject they're taking as to what skills they will pick up.
Yeah.
All the students on the diploma program do music therapy, FA, they all do IA, internal assessment, coursework in their subjects, which require those types of skills that lend themselves to the one.
Yeah, theory of knowledge.
Yeah, really, yeah, that's a very good point. The theory of knowledge, which is a brand new subject for students, when they start the IB diploma program, it's really heavy in critical thinking. How does Sunmark IB program distinguish its IB program from the rest of the IB-based schools in Dubai? So first of all, with the diploma program, we have much smaller class sizes here that allow more more focused interaction between teachers and students, whereas a lot of the schools around Dubai, because they only offer the IB diploma program, it means that a lot more students go into each of the classes. Assuming you want to field a question about the IB careers-related program and how we distinguish ourselves here.
Yeah, so I suppose that's another option that we have, the IBCP, which not all IB schools across Dubai will have. And that gives an alternative route for students that want to continue IB, but again want to specialise. So here they can specialise in hospitality, creative media, or entrepreneurship. Again, all of those are quite specialist compared to other schools in Dubai. I think there's only one or two that do those. I don't think any do hospitality specialism. I think they're the only school. So any student that has an interest in those three fields can combine the BTEC with the IB, and they get the rigour of the IB with the kind of practical industry skills of the BTEC. And that in itself is a really special course that makes us extremely different compared to lots of the other schools in Dubai.
And what is the relationship between what a student studies on the IB careers-related program and then what they go on to study overseas?
So usually it will be linked to their specialism, so hospitality, media, or entrepreneurship. Most commonly, we've had students go to do marketing, media, broadcasting, film, photography, advertising, business management. So that there are kind of most popular courses that children go on to do. But they don't have to. So we've had students this year are particularly artistic, and they do the creative media alongside IB visual arts and IB films. They've got a very creative kind of package, and they're going off to do arts courses. And so it's not necessarily a direct link, but there's that design and art part that's connected to media. So, and they're probably the most popular courses that our children go to do at university anyway, whether they're doing A-level, IB, EP or BTEC, and they're all going off to the same places and getting into the student courses that they want.
And is that similar for BTEC then, where a student would usually go on to university to study something that's closely related to the BTEC studies?
Yes, generally. This is just because the main reason for a student to complete a BTEC is if they have a specific career path in mind that they want to go down. So as Ms. Young said, if that is in hospitality management, then of course you would do the hospitality BTEC. and then go on to further education to follow hospitality, and then into a career. For enterprise, I think it's a little bit broader in terms of scope for future careers. If you know, we have quite a few students that want to start their own business or you know, open their own company, completing a BTEC enterprise, because they learn so many skills that can be used in the real world, and we have so many links to the real world. I do think it's really suitable as a course for our students to go on into a specialised field within hospitality, media and entrepreneurship.
And here are some we have a lot of students that are interested in studying medicine. So we're seeing what kind of subjects do the students study at A-level to then go on to medicine?
So definitely biology and chemistry would be necessary. In addition, physics could be an interesting part of that mix. With medicine, I think it's really important to know that the entry requirements are very different and the pathways are different in different countries. So if your child is interested in medicine and if they want to go to the UK, it's a really good idea to do it at A-level. And definitely be able to take, definitely do take biology and chemistry. And there's some other additional things that UK universities will look for as well, in terms of work experience or work that you've done outside that's in that field. Perhaps doing an EPQ in a medicine-related field would also help in the student's application. In Canada and the US, you don't go into medicine right away. You first get a bachelor's degree. But again, you would decide, you would definitely take biology and chemistry.
What about on the diploma program? What kind of subjects do students take before they go on to study medicine?
Well, they will do higher level biology and chemistry, and possibly maths, I think, components.
Yeah.
For medicine.
Is there a benefit from doing mathematics HL instead of, say, another HL in a language or anything like that?
No, I don't think that there's particularly a benefit. Mathematics obviously is important, but for medicine, it's something that you can do, but certainly a student doing psychology, whether that's at A-level or at IB, that's a really nice mix as well. So I don't think mathematics gives you any special edge, unless you're doing engineering.
Yeah, I would build on that. I've experienced a lot of students going through the IBDP and going on to study medicine that they focus on the chemistry and the biology HL, and then their other HLs being something like psychology or English, and it hasn't hindered their opportunities going on to study medicine at university. And then, so engineering, that's another popular choice, isn't it? So
yes.
What kind of subjects are important for engineering?
So definitely mathematics and definitely physics. And I would say that if you're going to the UK, you really do need to have very high scores in mathematics and in physics or the combined sciences at GCSE. But you must have those courses. That's an absolute must. Again, whether they're in IB or whether they're at A-levels, you cannot apply to an engineering program if you haven't done mathematics or physics. It's just not possible. And you would take them at higher level at IB.
A question about BTEC. What skills does the student need to be successful in the BTEC course?
Yeah, so we develop a lot of skills throughout the course, but just starting off with time management, it's very important to be able to manage your own time, manage yourself, so that you are able to multitask, which is another skill that we'll develop that ties into time management. If you're doing more than one BTEC, or even if it's the diploma, it is likely that you'll have more than one assignment at once. So being able to multitask and time manage those pieces of work at the same time is really important. But we also develop other skills which are transferable, such as communication skills, teamwork, and then you've got your specialist skills within the subject itself. So within media, for example, well, yeah, the technical skills obviously you're going to develop in media specifically.
they'll learn how to use sound equipment, they'll learn how to use camera equipment, editing software. The software that we use here at Sunmark as well is professional standard software. So they are using industry level equipment and software. We're very, very lucky with the setups that we have. And then just like you were saying, the transferable skills, we do a lot, specifically media and research skills. So our students there, a bit like the DPs, will have to reference as part of one of their units. They will learn how to reference, they will learn how to use citation. There's lots of those transferable ones, like we talked about communication. Just media. But then also within enterprise and entrepreneurship and hospitality, we also have things like managing a team within creating an event, which is something specialised within those two areas. But again, that's also transferable. If you're going into a position where you'll be managing other people, we teach those skills as units as well. And then in enterprise, they also do finance. We do a little bit of finance in hospitality as well. So there is a fair bit of crossover between basic skills, but then you have got those specialist skills, particularly for those subjects that really prepare our students for future pathways.
And just going then to the IB diploma programme, it's kind of famous for being quite a tough and challenging programme, and a lot of students find it very overwhelming. So what do we do here to help support those students?
We have specialised form classes for our IBDP students, so their form tutor understands all the demands and can be offering advice and help in form time. We carefully construct an assessment calendar each year to make sure that students are not overloaded with deadlines in the same week, and deadlines are split up over the course of the 2 years. We use online platforms such as ManageBack, which help organise students and help them to keep themselves organised in the most simple fashion possible, including a calendar which can put all their deadlines in, and so they can see all the deadlines across all 9 elements of the course on that one platform.
And how do we help students to prepare for the extended essay?
So the extended essay is taught in form time, one session per fortnight. They are taught how to conduct secondary research, how to construct a research question, which will allow them to gain top marks, how to reference, how to formulate an argument. And we have an extended essay coordinator, which does that training with them every fortnight. And then they are assigned a subject specialist mentor who will work with them to discuss the subject side of their extended essay in use of key terms, key concepts, so students can have that two help them two angles from the structure side of how to do an extended essay and the content subject side. And the deadlines that are set out they're built up over the course of 18 months, so students are not surprised with a very short deadline for a 4,000-word essay. They also get feedback, one draft feedback, so they do get some advice on how to improve their written work, and then they can submit a final draft.
And those meetings with the supervisor, they're on top of the lessons that they have online.
Yes, yes.
Okay, we've got a question here then that's specific to studying physiotherapy at university. What are the subjects and which curriculum is best for Canadian universities?
Oh, okay, yeah. So for physiotherapy, again, I would strongly urge the student to look at biology and chemistry. That would be sort of the basics there. Canada, again, A-levels, IB diploma, both of those are accepted. I think then in this particular case, the child would need to look at what do they prefer doing. But for Canada, for physiotherapy, biology and chemistry, but A-levels or IBDP, it really will depend on what the child wants themselves.
So would you advise the student to think about whether they're interested in that broad range of subjects or whether they're interested in specialising as to whether to do the diploma programme or A-level?
Yeah, I think I think it's already been mentioned, but it's a really good way of thinking about it. If you do IB diploma, you keep many, many doors open. If you do A-levels, the doors aren't closed at all. It's not the opposite of it. But it's really, the IB diploma is really good if you think you might want to do something. And the A-levels are really great if you know exactly what it is you want to do. So in this case, the student could do either one. Both are accepted at Canadian universities. We have IBDP students that are accepted at top universities in Canada. We have A-level students accepted at top universities in Canada. We have students that have a BTEC or two accepted at universities in Canada. So it's really ultimately what the student would want to do.
So a question here, my son wants to do English, Lit, Economics and Psychology at A-level, but the option table does not allow this mix. Is there any way to do this mix? Young, would you like to?
I'm not the A-level. Essentially, I mean, I don't know obviously the option books off the top of my head, but no, I mean, we have taken a lot of time with Year 11 students going through kind of what they'd like to do, trying to create some option blocks that suit the majority. And so the option blocks that we currently have do suit the majority of our children. Unfortunately, they're never going to suit all of our children, but they do suit the majority, so that is what they are. And so what we would urge the student to do is to talk to Ms. Singh and to talk to Mr. Howsham about kind of the priorities, what is it they'd like to do, because none of those subjects are required for certain career paths. So it's working out what's the favourite, what's the thing they prefer to do, and where their skill set is, and then unfortunately having to make that choice between maybe two of those and picking up a third different option.
Yeah, and I would just build on that by saying that if that combination of subjects is possible on the IB diploma program to do those three subjects at a higher level, then just going through those subjects, that if you want to go on to study economics at university, then maths is going to be an important subject to choose. And if you're a psychology teacher, and if a student wants to study psychology at university, then subject would you advise them to take?
Well, biology would be great. I would do a science biology. No, with economics, psychology, and English.
Just outside of that, if they were interested in
So
taking
the
psychology
science is
first.
still there. So yeah, biology. There's a lot of crossover between psychology and biology. Maths is also going to be a course take on the IBVP, and there's lots of statistical analysis at university in psychology. So that will put them in a great position for the IBVP diploma. Yeah, the IB diploma may be the solution.
Yeah, because in English, psychology, and economics, and then they would also take maths, and they would also be possible to take biology as well. So so they'll be able to keep their options open there for studying a subject like
language acquisition.
Yeah, and then another the final choice would be the language acquisition. The rest of the
Always good for having that international appeal.
Yeah, I mean, there are subjects at university that you can take, and it would be surprising how they combine languages. For example, I studied mathematics and French at university, and that allowed me to study abroad for a semester. So keeping your languages open is, can be quite useful.
It's also useful for any sort of business management. If you want to even start your own business or work within a business that deals with international customers, having that language in your arsenal really just opens up the job availability in the future and the career paths within any sort of business. Just having that language is a real boost.
So quite a straightforward question for you, Ms. Singh. Would economics or psychology be better for law? Maybe not.
Well,
That's a combination though, isn't it? What else are thinking of studying?
yeah, I really, again, it will come down to what the student would like. And again, it is only if you're going to study law in the UK. It really would come down to what the students would prefer and where they're going to do better. I think it's really important that, especially if you're looking at top law schools, you need to have really, really strong grades at A level or at IBDP, and you're going to probably have a strength in one of those. If you choose economics, fine, and if you choose psychology, it's fine. It's not going to hurt you, but I think it's really up to the child to know this might be the course that I might get a higher grade in, and then that in itself will have a payoff. That's important. Better to have 3 A stars than an A star, a C, and another C.
Okay, so a question that I can do here. Can students change their options? So yes, but we usually have a 3-week window at the beginning of the course where we want students to really firm up what exactly they want to do, because it is quite difficult to make that change from one subject to another when you're having to catch up on, if you think about for an A-level subject, it's 6 lessons a week. So after 3 weeks, that's 18 lessons that you would have missed. So it is really important that students are confident with the subjects that they're choosing. We want to have minimal changing at the beginning of year 12, and that is why we do a lot of these panels, and we do information, and we talk to year 11 students, and we have one-on-one sessions with them to try and limit the amount of changes that are made. So we want to make sure that students are confident with what they're starting with at the beginning of year 12 to start any of those changes. So again, this leads to a question about psychology. If I hadn't taken psychology at GCSE level, is it going to be very hard to catch up at A level?
Not very hard. The first couple of months, you're going to have to catch up to GCSE students and have acquired the key terms that we use and the key concepts that underpin the subject. But I have had many students that didn't do the GCSE that have then gone on to get the top mark. So it's very possible. It's obviously going to be a little bit more difficult to start with than a student that's done GCSE. But we start off by teaching right from the foundations again. So it's possible. It's very possible to get the top grade.
Yeah, I mean, so there's other subjects such as sociology, right, where students may not have studied it before. We offer sociology GCSE here at St Mark's, but in other schools in Dubai and around the world they might not offer that, and students that are coming in year 12 are not disadvantaged, they can still choose those subjects. It tends to be the humanities where students are able to take that subject without studying at IGCSE or GCSE. But it is definitely a benefit. Obviously, taking the subject before is going to give you that prior knowledge that you're going to then go over and build on in year 12. But it's not a must that every year we will have students that take psychology, sociology, media that haven't studied it before and do go on to access the top grade. The food as well.
Yeah, I was thinking while she was speaking about the BTECs in terms of the subjects that we offer at level 2, which is the GCSE level. We do have media and enterprise entrepreneurship. But as you've already mentioned, you don't necessarily have to have done the level 2 to go on to the level 3. You can come straight into the level 3 which is on par with the A level. To do our media subject, hospitality, and enterprise entrepreneurship. We do also have IT.
Yeah. And if you look on the options booklet, there's the entry requirements list, and it's obviously got the requirement if you've done psychology before, but it has another requirement if you haven't done psychology before. So it will guide you with where your skill set needs to be in terms mostly of maths, English, and science, the different subjects as well if you haven't done them previously.
Yeah, I think we always just highlight the entry requirements for each of the subjects. That's something very much that you want to have a look at now and align that with the subject that you want to choose. You know what your subject teachers have predicted you and have given you on your data captures, so you know where you're at in relation to those entry requirements. And if you are at the moment, the teacher is predicting you a 6, but you need a 7 in order to get into that subject, then now is the time to do something about it. You need to talk to your subject teachers and ask about what you can do in order to bridge that gap. And parents, there is a Year 11 Parents Evening that is next Monday. It is another good opportunity for you to have conversations with subject teachers about your child taking that specific subject or what they need to do in order to meet the entry requirements for that subject. And if you are worried about whether or not you're going to meet those entry requirements, then do have a conversation with your teacher, because it's very much something that you need to think about now, not something that you need to have you should be having a conversation in the summer saying, what can I do over the summer to catch them? Right? It's about what can you do now in order to meet those requirements and be properly prepared for the start of those courses in Year 12. Okay. I think don't have any other questions coming through. Do you have any last advice that you'd like to give to students when they're making this decision?
I think go with, everybody's got an inner voice, and now is that time to listen to that inner voice and let your child make that decision. They will have a hunch as to which direction they want to go into, or at least the courses that they like. And I think that that's a really, really good thing to do, because at the end of the day, in those, the last 2 years of the secondary in sixth form, they want to succeed. We want them to succeed. You want them to succeed. And my advice is, listen to the inner voice, and you'll make the right choice.
And I've already had quite a few students that have come to me to talk about their choices and to talk about that in relation to what they're interested in doing post-AD. And I would just encourage students when they're in school to approach any of us with our specialism. With Ms. Young, with the ID Careers Related Programme, with Ms. Newton and the Diploma Programme, with Hadfield on the BTEC, with Ms. Singh to discuss about university entry requirements, that we are available during school time to have those conversations before you make the choice. Okay. One more question. What are the entry requirements for psychology if you don't do it at GCSE? Putting you on the spot, but I can look that up. Okay, there you go.
We know all the entry.
So a 6 in science and a 6 in maths, and there is.
It does surprise people. So they've got some students that they haven't done it before, it's going to be an essay-based subject, and then as you know more than I do, that there is a science maths element, and sociology is more the essay-based subject.
That's what A-level anyway.
Oh, yeah.
In IB psychology is much more essay-based.
Yeah, sorry, I'm talking about it.
I think the question was about A-level.
Yeah, and I'm just found the A-level requirements, the grade requirements, they're on page 24 of the option booklet. And later on there'll be the requirements for the diploma program subject as well. So I just take this moment to plug the options booklet that Ms. Young has spent many an hour making sure has the correct information and more information building on the videos that we are producing to help you make those choices.
And the DP requirements are in there, they're just supporting the section.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Great. And then with the other subjects as well, if a student didn't do it at GCSE, then the entry requirements are also there. Okay, so I'll just finish by saying that, as I said, we're available for students who will talk to us during school time, but we're also available if you want to send us an email and set up a chat, or just ask any questions that you feel we didn't cover either here or during the videos that we sent out last week. Okay, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.